Stephen Peterson here. I'm telling you, I look forward to this time. I'm trying to do something 7 days a week that I have as much fun doing this. Wish I could do this 7 days a week. First, there must be a demand before I do this more than once. Stephen Peterson here. We're talking about patterns, we're talking about progress, we're talking about paths and pictures, process. We're talking about habits and routine and breakthrough, and how one change in one habit can change your entire life for the better. Or you can take it the other way. One change the wrong way, picking up a bad habit, can change your life negatively forever. I was talking to a lady just the other day, and she works with troubled youth. And she said the number one thing she's trying to get them to do, besides think differently, is hang around different people. Get different activities. It doesn't matter if you have problems with addictions or social problems. It's almost always supported. Now, you can be an addict all by yourself, but I've never seen an addict all by themselves where somebody wasn't trying to hang out with them. It can be reinforced. The worst habits in the world, you can find friends to reinforce that habit. So I'm saying, hey, you got a friend here. I'm not talking about something, this isn't easy for me. I've got, you can't see it off camera, I've got not one, not two, but 8 things I want to do every day for me, to make my life better, to make me happier, just make me feel better about myself. Now, 8 may be too many. I tell you to do one thing at a time. I've written down 8. I've got a little scratch here, and we do this live, so we can't edit that out later. So I'm writing down 8, but I'm going to implement one at a time. And you know, out of those 8, I might keep 4 or 5. I might dump 2 and add another 2. I'm not trying to fill my day up. Most of these things can be done in less than 90 seconds. I just want to make sure these 8 things I do every day. Now, one of them, this is just for me. You don't have to do this. One of them, I'm going to make this a habit. I'm going to start watching where my mind goes and what it thinks on, and I'm going to use my mouth as the monitor. When my head starts to go and think strange thoughts or negative thoughts or just non-productive thoughts, I'm going to give myself a good talking to. I stole that line from Bob Dylan. Sometimes you need to give yourself a good talking to and say, no, we're not going there. We're not going to think on that. Now, listen, denial isn't faith. You know, if there's real pain, or if your house payment's due or car payment's due, I'm just not going to think about it. That won't work. But I'm going to say, if I were doing that, I'd say, okay, I can't figure out how to pay it, so I'm going to free my mind of anything that says it's impossible, and I'm going to start looking for possibilities. How can I pay my bills? How can I come out of debt? And again, we go back to Dave Ramsey. Anybody who's got problems with debt, I would at least pick up one book from Dave Ramsey. There's got to be at least one Dave Ramsey book in any library if you can't afford to buy one. And just see the steps he has to getting out of debt. I couldn't stand Dave Ramsey. A lot of times when I listen to him, still drives me crazy. But, I mean, if you want to get out of debt, if you want to get your money under control, and you want to get your credit under control, you need to have somebody like that in your life. So that's just what I'm doing for me. But this program's called Patterns for Progress. And you can email me at that name, patternsforprogress@gmail.com. I'm Stephen Peterson. You want to get a hold of me, tell me how you're doing. patternsforprogress@gmail.com. Now, Dave Ramsey, let's use him for an example. Man, he's as disciplined. He gives every dollar an assignment. I like that theory. I haven't done that yet. Those aren't my strengths. But I can learn a new pattern. I'm not an old dog. You can learn a new trick. You're not an old dog. You can learn a new trick. There's a young lady, I don't even know her name, but she won a golf tournament just the other day. I think it was her first major. And I don't know why, but I listened for a second, because she had I believe a 7-stroke lead, and then somebody caught up to her and she had to go into a 4-hole playoff. And they said, what were you thinking? Because apparently she had kind of collapsed like this before. And she said, I've changed the way I think. No matter what I do, I try to be proud of myself. One of her first shots, I guess she put in the weeds, and she said, man, I really placed that in the weeds. So here's something I'd like you to do. at the end of the day, think of one thing you did well, one thing you can be proud of yourself. I did that well. Now, maybe you've got detractors, and maybe there's a whole bunch of them saying, man, even a blind squirrel finds a nut, so what's your excuse? But you've got to believe in you. People are always looking. They tell me all the time, oh, Steve, man, I'm looking for somebody. I'm looking for a woman to believe in me. I'm looking for a man to believe in me. I'm looking for a group. First, believe in yourself. Pick out one thing. Now, I've got a friend. He does 1,000 things right every day. He doesn't need, that's what he thinks. What an attitude this. He doesn't need that. But for recovering perfectionists, or maybe you're not you're just a, full-blown perfectionist. Listen, you got to find one thing you think you did well, and then say it out loud. Don't say it to somebody else. They'll tell you why it wasn't. No, say it out loud. And yesterday was a trying day. I was tired at the start. I didn't do anything I loved. One of the first steps I'm implementing, make sure I do something I love every day. Maybe it only takes 2 minutes or 5 minutes, but it's going to be my little thing. Oh man, I enjoyed that. I did that for me. And if I asked anybody else, they'd go, oh, it's no big deal. Well, that yesterday had nothing in it that I loved. I could point to a couple of things. Okay, I did well. I really helped there, but it just wasn't working. And so I'm going to make sure I take the time, those 8, it's not 8 steps, it's 8 things. I'm going to do at least half of those 8 things every day. Most of them won't take but 2 to 5 minutes. So I might have to take 5 minutes out in the middle of the day, or 5 minutes out. I'll try to do 1 in the morning, get the day started right. I don't want to reproduce what I did yesterday. Tomorrow is a very busy day with lots of responsibilities. This isn't a pattern to get rid of your responsibilities. It's a pattern to bring life in the middle of responsibilities. So be proud of yourself. Number 2, listen, I hate this one. So I learned that one from a young golfer. Number 2, this was somebody who wrote an article that was emailed to me, and then I found it on the internet. And he said the second most important thing, whatever you can do today, do it. Stop procrastinating. And I don't know how old I was before I figured out one of the worst things about being a perfectionist. You put off a lot of things because you can't do them perfectly. It may not even be spoken. It's something that's going on in that background. I've referenced it all the time. There's 15 to 1,800 words playing on I call it a loop or a soundtrack in your mind. You're either speaking against yourself or you're speaking for yourself, and you can change that soundtrack. So this guy says, stop procrastinating. Solomon, one of the wisest people, maybe the wisest person I ever learned, said, if it's in your power to do good, do it today. Don't do it tomorrow. Oh, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do it when I get around to it. I don't know about you. I don't get around to it. And then I feel poorly about myself. So stop procrastinating. And that's such a big, broad thing. Stop procrastinating on something you want to accomplish, some dream you want to see come to pass, some change you want to have in you. Stop procrastinating. Do something. I started off with 2 steps, or 2 things I wanted to do every day, and in less than an hour I had 8. Now again, that may be too many, and I'm not going to tell you what they are because you and I are different. These are 8 things that mean something to me. And when I take the time to do them, I will find out they're really worth doing or they're not. So I'll throw ones out that aren't working. Doesn't mean they're bad. If they're not working, but I'm going to do, and I started that. I implemented that today. Stop procrastinating on something. You want a better job? Apply today. You want something to go better? You've got something that's really, get it off your chest today. Don't procrastinate. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, man. And then I got another report, because I'm looking for any report on habits and patterns and process and routines. And this guy wrote, I believe, 5 steps. And I won't share any one but one with you, because he said the second most important thing is get rid of bad habits, bad routines, bad patterns, bad practice. That's why I said you can't really put a new habit in. You can't put a new pattern in, a new practice in, till you get rid of an old one. You just can't. You just can't. And he had very detailed things, but for the out with the bad, he said, enough said. Get rid of the wrong people in your life, get rid of the wrong thoughts in your life, get rid of the wrong habits in your life. He's done a study, and he said 40% of our day is controlled by habits. We have, I believe he said there's 40,000 actions we do in a day, and most of those actions are, a quick thought or something, that are merely part of a habit, a pattern, a routine. He's just preaching to the choir. He's just telling you what I'm telling you. You change one. You identify one pattern that's not working, throw it out. Add a pattern from somebody who's successful where you want to be successful. That's one reason I said, hey, if something's working for you, email me at Patterns for Progress. I want to know what's working for you. I want to know what you changed. I threw this out and I did this. Because I'm working on me, but what works on me, the pattern will work, but not the specific goal. You and I have different goals. We're different people. It's okay. It's okay. But here's something that works every time. Out with the bad. Identify what doesn't work. You want to lose weight? Then put those bags of chips away that you eat at midnight when you watch TV. In fact, he had one. He said, if you want to lose weight, don't watch television or look at your phone while you're eating. Sit down while you're eating. Get a smaller plate while you're eating. And he even said, get a red plate. Now, he didn't say it was definitive, but he said, if you eat off a red plate, you'll want to eat less. I have no idea if that's, I have no idea, but I love to read while I eat. And he said, if you read while you eat, you'll end up eating long past when you're full because you're concentrating on what you're reading instead of what you're eating. So there, that's just, but out with the bad. Identify bad and then put a new one. You can't just throw it out, but you got to put a new pattern in there. A new pattern. Here's one for me. I don't know if it's because I'm Norwegian or the way I was raised or whatever, but man, I can be serious. I watched myself last week. I laughed a lot. I'm going to make a concentrated effort on seeing something, watching something, listening to something every day that makes me laugh. I think I'm far more creative if I've laughed or if I feel like laughing. I'm a person who can see a glass half full or a glass half empty or a glass full of glass and there's no more water. Listen, if I laugh, all of a sudden I see possibilities. I tell you that Les Brown phrase all the time, just say it's possible. It's possible. Something you're saying is keeping you bound up or something you're saying is setting you free. Start saying it's possible. Maybe I've never known it before, maybe I've never had it before, but it's possible. My change in life, what I want in life, is not impossible. It's possible. And the great thing about a pattern, it works for the smartest people and the dullest people, the strongest people and the weakest people. Somebody may get more out of that pattern than you or I do, but a good pattern will always produce good results. It's like good seed. A pattern's like a seed. You put good seed in the ground and you'll get a good crop. You put a good pattern in your life and your life will change for the better. I'm Stephen Peterson. I've got less than 30 seconds to tell you. Love to hear from you. Email me at patternsforprogress@gmail.com. That should be on the screen now. Patternsforprogress@gmail.com. Tell me where you're struggling. Tell me where you're succeeding. Let me know something that worked for you. I'd love to hear from you. And I'm here every Sunday. I appreciate you joining me, and I will see you, next week. Make that part of your pattern and routine every Sunday morning.